I'm HIV positive. My wife gave it to me. Then she disappeared. I'm 62 years old, and I'm going to die in a country that isn't my home because I trusted someone I should never have married. That's where this story ends. But let me tell you how it started. Because maybe, just maybe, you'll see yourself in my mistakes. And if you do, you'll walk away before it's too late. I met Anong in March 2017. I know what you're thinking, that name. In Thailand, it's just a nickname, means blessing. I should have known better than to believe in blessings. I was 60 years old, freshly divorced from my second wife back in Sydney, and I'd come to Phuket to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. I'd sold my share in a small plumbing business, had a decent chunk of change in the bank, and I was tired. Tired of Australian women who looked at me like I was already dead. Tired of being invisible. Thailand made me visible again. Anong worked at a massage parlor in Patong, not one of the tourist traps on Bangla Road, a smaller place on a side street, the kind where you could actually get a legitimate massage if you wanted one. But they offered other services too. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't know what kind of place it was. I knew. I just didn't care. The first time I went, she wasn't even my masseuse. I saw her at the front desk, and something about her smile made my chest hurt. She was 28 years old, tiny, with long black hair and this way of looking at you like you were the only person in the room. I know now that she looked at every fairing that way, but I didn't know it then. I came back the next day and asked for her specifically. We talked for 2 hours. She told me she was from Isan, up north near Udon Thani. Her family was poor, rice farmers, barely scraping by. She'd come to Phuket when she was 19 to send money home. She'd been working at the massage parlor for 9 years. She was tired too. Tired of strange men's hands on her body. Tired of pretending to smile when she felt nothing. I want to have normal life, she told me, her English broken but earnest. I want stop work this place, find good man, have family, be happy. I wanted to be that good man. God help me, I wanted it so badly. Within 2 weeks, I'd offered to support her if she quit the massage parlor. She cried when I said it, actual tears running down her face. You too good for me, she whispered. I don't deserve, you deserve everything, I told her, and I meant it. She moved into my rented condo in Karon Beach a month later. I paid her 30,000 baht a month, more than she'd been making at the parlor, she said. I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know. All that mattered was that she was mine now, safe, protected. We fell into a routine quickly. She'd wake up early and make me coffee, then we'd walk on the beach before it got too hot. She'd cook for me, simple Thai food, nothing fancy, but it was the first time in years a woman had cooked for me at all. We'd watch movies in the evening, her head on my chest, her hair smelling like coconut shampoo. The sex was good. I'm not going to pretend I was some kind of stud at 60, but she made me feel like I was 30 again. Enthusiastic, attentive, always initiating. I told myself she wanted me, not just my money. I told myself a lot of things. After 6 months, I asked her to marry me. She said yes immediately. No hesitation. We did it at the Phuket AMFO office, nothing fancy, just a legal marriage. Her family came down from Isan for a small ceremony at a temple. I gave her parents 200,000 baht as sin sought, the traditional bride price. Her father cried. Her mother hugged me and called me lung, uncle, a term of respect. I felt like I'd finally done something right with my life. I was so fucking stupid. The marriage gave her security. That's what I told myself. She could stay in Thailand without work permit issues. And when we eventually moved back to Australia, I'd started planning for that. She'd come as my wife. I'd already started the visa paperwork. I was building us a future. She seemed happy. At least, I thought she did. She'd smile when I came home, kiss me at the door, ask about my day. We'd go out to dinner at the restaurants in Patong, and she'd hold my hand across the table. Other expats would look at us, some with envy, some with pity. And I'd think, they don't know. They don't know how good I have it. I was possessive. I'll admit that. If we went out and another man looked at her, I'd feel this spike of jealousy in my chest. I'd put my arm around her waist, pull her closer. "You're mine," I'd whisper in her ear. She'd smile and nod. "I'm yours," she'd say back. I checked her phone sometimes, not every day, but when she was in the shower or asleep. I told myself I was just being careful, protecting what we had. There was never anything suspicious. Her line messages were mostly with her family, a few Thai friends from the massage parlor days. Nothing in English, nothing that worried me. Looking back, I realized she had 2 phones. I just never saw the second one. For 18 months, I believed I'd saved her. I believed she loved me. I believed we'd grow old together. Well, I'd grow old, she'd still be young, but we'd figure it out. Then I started getting sick. It started in September 2018. Just small things at first. I felt tired all the time, which I chalked up to the heat. Phuket in September is brutal. Rain every afternoon, humidity that makes you feel like you're breathing through a wet towel. I'd wake up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep. Anong noticed before I did. "You look tired, darling," she'd say, her hand on my forehead. "Maybe you sick. You want go see doctor?" "I'm fine," I'd tell her, just getting old. But I wasn't fine. By October, I'd lost weight, maybe 5 kilos, enough that my shorts were falling off my hips. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was eating the same as always. It just melted off. "You look good," Anong said when I mentioned it. "More handsome, not so fat." She smiled when she said it, but there was something in her eyes I couldn't read. Relief, maybe, or guilt. I didn't know then. I know now. The night sweat started in November. I'd wake up at 3, I'm soaked through, the sheets damp beneath me, my heart racing. Anong slept through it every time, or pretended to. She'd roll away when I got up to change my shirt, her back to me, her breathing steady. "Maybe you have fever," she suggested once, her voice flat. "You checked temperature?" I checked. No fever, just sweat, just exhaustion. Then came the headaches. Dull, persistent, like someone had wrapped a rubber band around my skull and kept tightening it. I started taking paracetamol every day. Anong would hand me the pills with a glass of water, her face carefully neutral. "You should see doctor," she said again. "Maybe something wrong. I'll go next week, I'd promise." And I meant to, but I kept putting it off. I didn't want to know if something was wrong. I wanted to keep living in the fantasy where everything was perfect. By December, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'd developed a cough that wouldn't go away, dry, hacking, especially at night. My lymph nodes were swollen, tender to the touch. I could feel them in my neck, like hard little marbles under the skin. I finally made an appointment at Bangkok Hospital, Phuket. Anong didn't offer to come with me. "I have appointment at salon," she said that morning, not meeting my eyes. "You okay, go alone?" I should have questioned it. I should have asked why the salon appointment was suddenly so important, why she couldn't reschedule. But I didn't. I just kissed her on the forehead and told her I'd be fine. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and artificial lemon. That smell, I can still smell it sometimes when I close my eyes and my stomach turns. I was sitting in the waiting room, filling out forms, when I noticed my hands were shaking. The doctor was British, mid-50s, professional but kind, Dr. Harrison. I'll never forget his name. "So Keith, what brings you in today?" I listed the symptoms: fatigue, weight loss, night sweats, cough, swollen lymph nodes. He listened, his face neutral, taking notes. "How long have you been experiencing these symptoms?" 3, maybe 4 months, getting worse. "Any recent illnesses, travel, exposure to anyone who's been sick?" "No. Well, I live in Thailand full-time now, but I've been here 2 years. This just started recently." He examined me, checked my throat, felt my lymph nodes, listened to my lungs. His hands were cool and clinical. When he finished, he sat back in his chair and looked at me for a long moment. "Keith, I'm going to recommend some blood tests. Full panel, including HIV." My stomach dropped. HIV? Why would you? I'm married. I'm monogamous. He didn't flinch. These symptoms can indicate a lot of things, probably nothing serious. But HIV is one possibility we need to rule out. When was your last HIV test? I never. Not in years. Before I moved here. And you've been sexually active since then? Just with my wife. He made another note. Has your wife been tested recently? I don't know. I never asked. Another long look. This one tinged with something I couldn't identify. Pity, maybe. Let's get the blood work done. We'll have results in a few days. I stumbled out of the clinic in a daze. HIV. He'd said HIV. But that was impossible. I was married. I was faithful. Anong was faithful, wasn't she? That night, I tried to bring it up casually. The doctor wants me to get tested for HIV, I said, watching her face carefully. She was chopping vegetables for dinner. She didn't look up. Why? Her voice was calm. Too calm. Just routine, he said with my symptoms. It's something they need to rule out. Okay. She kept chopping. The knife hit the cutting board in steady, rhythmic thuds. When you go? Tomorrow morning. Okay. Thud, thud, thud. Anong, have you ever been tested for HIV? The chopping stopped. She looked up at me, her eyes dark and unreadable. Long time ago, when I work massage, we have check every year. I'm negative. When was the last time? Before I meet you, maybe 2 years. Maybe you should get tested again, just to be safe. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Okay, darling. I go with you tomorrow. She didn't go with me tomorrow. When I woke up, she was already gone. A note on the kitchen counter. Go market with friend. See you tonight. Love you. I went to the hospital alone. The blood draw was quick, clinical. The nurse didn't make small talk. I was in and out in 15 minutes. 3 days. Dr. Harrison had said 3 days for results. Those were the longest 3 days of my life. Anong was different after that doctor's appointment. I couldn't put my finger on exactly how, but something had shifted. She was quieter. She'd leave the apartment more often. Just going to see friends, she'd say, or need to buy something at market. She'd be gone for hours. Her phone was always with her now. Always. Even when she went to the bathroom, she'd take it. If I asked to see a photo she'd mentioned, she'd hold the screen at an angle where I couldn't see her apps. Little things. Tiny things. Things I might not have noticed if I wasn't already spiraling. On the second night after my blood draw, I couldn't sleep. The night sweats were worse than ever, and my mind was racing. HIV. What if I actually had it? How would I have gotten it? Anong was the only person I'd been with in almost 2 years, which meant no. I was being paranoid. She loved me. She'd quit the massage parlor for me. We were married. But what if she hadn't quit? The thought hit me like a physical blow. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. What if she'd been lying about quitting? What if she'd been working the whole time, telling me she was visiting friends or going to the market, when really she was? I looked over at her. She was asleep, or pretending to be, her back to me. Her phone was on the nightstand, face down. She always put it face down now. I reached for it. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I knew her passcode, her birthday. I'd watched her type it in 100 times. But when I tried it, the phone buzzed. Incorrect passcode. She'd changed it. The panic that surged through me was so intense I thought I might throw up. I set the phone down carefully, exactly where it had been, and lay back down. But I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling fan turning slowly overhead, and I thought about all the times she'd left the apartment in the past few months, all the times she'd been vague about where she was going, all the times she'd come home smelling like cigarette smoke even though she didn't smoke. The next morning, I waited until she was in the shower. Then I went through her purse. I didn't know what I was looking for. Evidence. Proof. Something to make the fear go away or confirm it. Her purse was small, pink, cheaply made. Inside, a wallet with a few thousand baht, her Thai ID card, some receipts, lipstick, a compact mirror, and a second phone. It was a cheap smartphone, one of those Chinese brands you can buy for a few thousand baht at any mall. It had a cracked screen. I turned it on, my hands shaking. No passcode. The Line app was already open. The messages were all in Thai, but I could read enough to understand. There were 6 or 7 conversations active. Male names, mostly. How much for tonight? Can you come at 8? Same as last time. And her responses. 2,000 baht short time. 4,000 all night. Okay, I come. You want massage first, or go straight to bed? I stood there in the bedroom, her phone in my hand, listening to the shower run, and something broke inside me. She hadn't quit. She'd never quit. For 18 months, while I'd been playing house with her, while I'd been telling myself I'd saved her, she'd been working, fucking other men, taking their money, coming home to me and kissing me with the same mouth. The shower turned off. I put the phone back in her purse exactly where I'd found it. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. She came out wrapped in a towel, her hair wet, smiling at me. Good morning, darling. You want breakfast? I looked at her and felt nothing but cold, hollow rage. Who are all the men in your phone? I said quietly. Her smile didn't falter. What you mean? The second phone in your purse, the one with all the messages. Her face went completely blank. Not surprised, not guilty, just blank. You go through my purse? She said finally. Yes, I went through your fucking purse. Who are they? She sat down on the bed, still in her towel, and looked at me. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Then, they're customers. The word hit me like a slap. Customers. I repeated it slowly. You're still working. Yes. No apology. No explanation. Just yes. How long? Since before I meet you. You told me you quit. I know. You fucking lied to me. I need money, Keith. You give me 30,000 baht each month, but my family need more. My mother's sick. My father can't work. I have to send money home. I would have given you more money. You already give too much. I don't want. Ask for more. This way, you don't know, you don't worry. The logic of it was so insane, I almost laughed. She'd lied to me, kept fucking other men for money, exposed me to God knows what diseases, but she'd done it so I wouldn't worry. Do you even love me? I asked. She looked down at her hands. I like you. You're good, man. You take care of me. That's not what I asked. I don't know what is love, she said quietly. I don't think I love anybody. My phone rang. I ignored it. It rang again. I looked at the screen. Bangkok Hospital, Phuket. My blood went cold. Hello? Keith, this is Dr. Harrison. Can you come in today? I have your test results, and I'd like to discuss them in person. In person. That meant it was bad. What time? Can you be here in an hour? I hung up. Anong was watching me, her face still blank. That was the doctor, I said. I have to go. You want me to come? I stared at her. This woman who'd lied to me for 18 months. This woman who'd fucked strangers and then come home and fucked me. This woman who didn't know what love was. No, I said. I don't want you to come. I left her sitting on the bed in her towel. The drive to the hospital was a blur. I don't remember most of it. I remember my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I remember the smell of exhaust from the motorbikes weaving through traffic. I remember thinking, over and over, please don't let it be positive. Please don't let it be positive. Doctor. Harrison's face when I walked into his office told me everything before he said a word. Keith, please sit down. I sat. Your HIV test came back positive. The world tilted sideways. I heard the words, but they didn't make sense. Positive. HIV. Positive. Are you sure? My voice sounded far away. We ran the test twice. I'm very sure. I'm sorry. How is that possible? I'm married. Do you know your wife's HIV status? I opened my mouth, closed it. She said she was tested 2 years ago. Negative. Has she been tested since? No. I'm going to recommend she get tested immediately. Based on your viral load and the progression of your symptoms, I estimate you were infected sometime in the last 12 to 18 months. If she's your only sexual partner, she's either positive and transmitted it to you, or you transmitted it to her, which seems less likely given the timeline. She's been working as a prostitute the whole time we've been together, I heard myself say. I just found out this morning, doctor. Harrison's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. He'd seen this before. How many times had he had this exact conversation with foreign men who'd married Thai sex workers and thought they were different? Then there's a high probability she's positive, he said gently, and a possibility she knew and didn't disclose it to you. That's a criminal offense in Thailand, but it's difficult to prove. What do I do now? We start you on antiretroviral therapy immediately. The good news, and there is good news, is that HIV is no longer the death sentence it used to be. With proper treatment, you can live a normal lifespan. Your viral load can become undetectable, which means you won't be able to transmit the virus to others. How much does the treatment cost? Here in Thailand, much less than in Australia. Roughly 3,000 to 5,000 baht per month for the medication, plus regular monitoring. You'll need to stay in Thailand for treatment or transfer your care back to Australia, which will be more expensive. I sat there in his office, the antiseptic smell burning my nostrils, and I felt like I was floating outside my body. HIV. I had HIV. I was 62 years old, and I had HIV, and the woman I'd married had given it to me while fucking other men for money. Keith, I need to ask, are you feeling safe? Do you have thoughts of harming yourself or others? Did I? I thought about Anong sitting on the bed in her towel, blank-faced, saying, I don't know what is love. I thought about going home and wrapping my hands around her throat. I thought about it in vivid detail, her eyes going wide, her hands clawing at mine, the life leaving her body. No, I lied. I'm fine. He didn't believe me, but he let it go. I left with a prescription, an information packet, and an appointment for next week. When I got home, Anong was gone. Not just out, gone. Her clothes were gone from the closet, her toiletries from the bathroom, the second phone from her purse, the purse itself, everything. There was no note. I called her main phone. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. Again. On the 6th call, someone answered. Male voice, Thai, speaking broken English. Who is this? I demanded. This Anong phone. She busy now. Don't call again. The line went dead. I sat on the floor of the empty bedroom and stared at the space where her clothes had been. She'd known. She'd fucking known. That's why she'd changed her phone password. That's why she'd been distant. She'd known she was positive. And she'd known I'd find out. And she'd already planned her escape. I pulled out my phone and called her family. Her mother answered. Have you seen Anong? I asked in broken Thai. Anong, go back to Phuket, she said. She say she need to work. Why you call? Something wrong? Did she tell you I'm sick? A pause. What's sick? So she hadn't told them. Of course she hadn't. Nothing. Never mind. I hung up. I called her friends from the massage parlor. Most didn't answer. One did, a woman named Nok who'd been kind to me at the wedding. Do you know where Anong is? Why you want to know? Nok sounded wary. She left. I need to talk to her. Another pause. Then, Keith, I'm sorry, but you should forget about Anong. She's no good. Find someone else. Did you know she was still working? Silence. Did you know? I shouted. Everyone know, Nok said quietly. We try to tell you at wedding. You don't listen. You think you special. You think you save her. But Anong doesn't want to be saved. She likes the life. She likes the money. Did you know she has HIV? The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, Yes. She find out 1 year ago. She get from customer or maybe from Arthit, her husband in Isan. She don't tell you? My vision went dark at the edges. Her husband? My voice cracked. She's married? Oh. Knock's voice was small. You don't know. Keith, I'm sorry. She marry Arthit when she 19. They never divorce. You marriage to her is not real. Not legal. I hung up. I sat on the floor for hours. I don't know how many. At some point it got dark. At some point I started crying. Not loud, wrenching sobs, just silent tears running down my face while I stared at nothing. My wife was never my wife. She had HIV and gave it to me. She had a husband in Isan the whole time. She never quit the massage parlor. She never loved me. And she was gone. Over the next week, the pieces fell into place like a puzzle I'd been too blind to see. I hired a private investigator. He was Australian, mid-42nds, ran a small agency in Patong helping expats with exactly this kind of situation. His name was Greg, and his first words to me were, "Mate, I'm sorry, but you're about the 10th bloke this year with this exact story." Within 3 days, he had everything. Anong's real name was Anong Srisai. She was 30, born in Udon Thani province. She'd married Arthit Srisai in 2007 when she was 18. They had a daughter, now 11 years old, living with Anong's parents. Arthit worked construction in Bangkok and came home every few months. Anong had been working in Phuket since 2008. Not continuously at one massage parlor. She'd moved around, worked bars, worked freelance. She'd been arrested once in 2012 for prostitution, paid a small fine, kept working. She'd tested positive for HIV in September 2017, 6 months before she met me. Greg showed me the medical records. He'd gotten them through a contact at the clinic where she'd been tested. There it was in black and white, HIV-1 positive, referred for treatment. She'd attended 2 appointments, then stopped going. Did she know? I asked. When she started seeing me, did she know she was positive? Yeah, mate, Greg said gently. She knew. Why didn't she tell me? He shrugged. Money, probably. If she'd told you, you wouldn't have married her, wouldn't have supported her. She needed you to believe the fantasy. So she just gave me HIV, knowingly. That's what it looks like. You could press charges. Reckless transmission of HIV is illegal here. But honestly, Keith, you'd never win. She'd claim she didn't know, or she'd claim you knew the risks, or she'd just disappear. The Thai legal system doesn't give a fuck about foreign men who marry bar girls and get burned. Where is she now? Back on Bangla Road, working at a bar called Lolita's. Different name, she's going by Knock now. Already has a new boyfriend, German bloke, mid-52nds. Been with him about a week. A week. She'd left me, and within a week, she had someone new. Is she telling him she's positive? Greg looked at me like I was stupid. What do you think? I thought about going to Bangla Road. I thought about walking into Lolita's and confronting her in front of everyone. I thought about warning the German man. I thought about a lot of things. Because the truth was, it wouldn't change anything. She'd still be positive. I'd still be positive. She'd still be a liar and a cheat and a prostitute who didn't know what love was. And I'd still be a 2-year-old fool who'd thought he could buy love with a monthly allowance. I started the antiretroviral therapy, 3 pills a day, every day, for the rest of my life. The side effects were brutal at first: nausea, diarrhea, vivid nightmares. But after a few weeks, my body adjusted. My viral load started to drop. By December, it was undetectable. Dr. Harrison was pleased. "You're doing great, Keith," he said. "How are you feeling emotionally?" "I want to go home," I said. "Australia?" "Yeah, I'm done with Thailand." "I understand. I can transfer your medical records to a clinic in Sydney. You'll need to continue treatment there, but the Australian healthcare system will cover most of it." "What about her?" I asked. What happens to her? I don't know, he said. But it's not your responsibility anymore. He was right, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. At night, lying in the empty condo, I'd think about her with the German man. I'd think about her not telling him. I'd think about him getting tested in 6 months and getting the same phone call I got. And part of me, the part that was angry and bitter and wanted everyone to hurt as much as I hurt, was glad. I wanted him to suffer. I wanted her to keep infecting people until someone finally stopped her. But another part of me, the part that still remembered holding her on the beach and believing she was my blessing, wanted to warn him, wanted to save him the way I'd tried to save her. In the end, I did neither. I packed up the condo, sold my motorbike, booked a one-way ticket to Sydney. 2 days before I left, I went to Bangla Road. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to see her one last time. Maybe I just wanted to confirm she was really there, really doing this to someone else. Lolita's was a typical Bangla Road bar, neon lights, loud music, girls in bikinis dancing on poles. I sat at the bar and ordered a beer. She didn't see me at first. She was sitting with the German man at a corner table, laughing at something he said. She looked exactly the same. Beautiful, young, alive, like nothing had happened, like I'd never existed. Then she looked up and saw me. For just a second, one tiny second, something flickered across her face. Fear? Guilt? I couldn't tell. Then it was gone, replaced by that blank mask I'd seen the morning I confronted her. She whispered something to the German man and stood up. She walked over to me slowly, her hips swaying, her face neutral. "Why you here?" she said quietly. "I wanted to see if it was real," I said. "If you were really here. You see now. Go home, Keith." "Does he know?" I nodded toward the German man. Her jaw tightened. "It's not your business. You're going to give him HIV. Maybe I don't have HIV anymore. Maybe I get better. That's not how it works." She shrugged. "He's happy. I'm happy. Why you want to ruin it?" I stared at her. This woman I'd married, this woman I'd loved, and I felt nothing but exhausted pity. "I don't want to ruin it," I said. "I just wanted you to know that I know what you are, and I hope someday you have to live with what you've done." "I already live with it," she said quietly. "Every day." Then she walked back to the German man, sat on his lap, kissed his neck. He laughed and squeezed her waist. I finished my beer and left. I've been back in Sydney for 3 months now. I found a clinic that specializes in HIV treatment. My viral load is still undetectable. My doctor says I'm doing great, that I could live another 20, maybe 30 years if I take care of myself. I'm staying with my sister in Parramatta while I figure out what's next. She knows everything. I told her the whole story one night over too many beers, and she cried, actually cried. For me. "You were lonely," she said. "You made a mistake. It doesn't make you stupid. But it does, doesn't it? I was stupid. I ignored every red flag. I believed every lie. I thought I was special. But I'm not special. I'm just another old man who thought he could buy love in Thailand. My ex-wife, my real ex-wife, from Australia, called me when she heard I was back. I don't know how she found out, probably through mutual friends. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. "I'm okay. I heard you got sick. I'm managing it." A long pause. Then, "I'm sorry, Keith. I'm sorry it happened to you." I almost told her the truth. Almost told her it was my own fault, that I'd been careless, that I'd married a prostitute who gave me HIV. But I didn't. I just thanked her and hung up. I haven't told many people. My sister knows. My doctor knows. A few close friends know I have HIV, but not how I got it. Everyone else thinks I just got tired of Thailand and came home. It's easier that way. Sometimes I look at photos of Anong on my phone. I couldn't bring myself to delete them all. There's one of us on the beach in Karon, her head on my shoulder, both of us smiling. I look at it and try to remember what it felt like to believe she loved me. I can't. It's like trying to remember a dream. I found her on Facebook a few weeks ago. She'd changed her name again, going by Knock now, just like Greg said. Her profile was public. Photos of her with the German man, photos of her at bars, photos of her in expensive dresses and jewelry. One photo stopped me cold. It was her with a child, a girl, maybe 11 or 12, wearing a school uniform. The caption was in Thai. Miss my daughter so much. Her daughter. The daughter she had with Arthit. The husband I never knew existed. I wondered if the daughter knew what her mother did for a living. I wondered if she'd grow up and follow the same path. I wondered if Anong sent the German man's money home to support her, the same way she'd sent my money home. I closed Facebook and haven't looked since. Looking back, I can pinpoint the exact moments I should have walked away. When she wouldn't introduce me to her friends for the first 3 months. When she was vague about her family's financial needs. When she insisted on keeping her own bank account and wouldn't let me see it. When she said she'd been tested for HIV long time ago but couldn't remember exactly when. When she changed her phone password. When she started leaving the apartment more often. When she refused to get tested when I asked her to. The signs were all there. I just didn't want to see them. Because seeing them meant admitting I wasn't special. Admitting she didn't love me. Admitting I'd been paying for sex all along, just with monthly installments instead of hourly rates. That's the thing about relationships like mine and Anong's. They're transactional from the start. She needed money. I needed to feel wanted. It was never about love. I just convinced myself it was. Would I do it again? Go to Thailand, meet someone like Anong, try to build a life? No, never. Not in a million years. But would I warn someone else who was doing the same thing? I don't know. Because the truth is, they wouldn't listen. I wouldn't have listened. When you're lonely enough, when you want to believe badly enough, you'll ignore every warning. You'll rationalize every red flag. You'll tell yourself you're different, she's different, your love is different. Until you're sitting in a doctor's office being told you have HIV. Until you come home and find her gone. Until you realize you were never married at all. If you're reading this and any part of my story sounds familiar, if your girlfriend's phone is suddenly password protected, if she's vague about where she goes, if she says she quit working but you have that nagging feeling she didn't, don't ignore it. Don't be like me. Get tested. Demand she gets tested. If she refuses, walk away. If she's cheating, you deserve better. If she's putting your health at risk, you deserve better. If she's lying about who she is, you deserve better. I know you love her. I know you think you can save her. I know you think you're special. You're not, and neither is she. I'm 62 years old. I have HIV. I'll be on medication for the rest of my life. I'll never trust anyone again. I'll never stop wondering if any of it was real. And somewhere in Phuket, Anong is sitting on another man's lap, smiling that same smile, telling him the same lies. I hope he figures it out before it's too late. I didn't.